St. Louis Cardinals get horrible news about one of their top pitching prospects, and the team makes their first move of the trade deadline window, and it's as unspectacular as the guy that they traded away.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. My name is JD Hafford, and I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio, and the podcast is also available on X at LO_Cardinals. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans of baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. This episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's show, we've got some trade deadline talk about Nolan Arenado I want to get to. We're going to discuss this Erick Fedde deal with the Atlanta Braves, but we do have some breaking news, and it is not good news whatsoever, courtesy of the Athletic's Katie Wu. Cardinals pitching prospect Tekoah Roby is done for the year. And it's being reported that he had Tommy John surgery on Friday and is more than likely out not only for the rest of this year, but also next year. So we probably won't see him again until 2027. A devastating blow, to say the least. This sucks. This sucks big time. Tekoah Roby, one of those guys that I was really hoping to see in a Cardinal uniform come September. My dream, if you will, was to see he and Quinn Matthews up with the team in September so they could get their first taste of Major League action. I know we got to see him in spring training, but Major League action before hopefully taking the next step and becoming members of the rotation next year, along with Sonny Gray, Michael McGreevy, Matthew Liberatore, Andre Palante, and now that idea has been blown to bits. Roby, who was acquired along with Thomas Ajacey, if you remember, that was the trade with the Texas Rangers that brought those guys over. Jordan Montgomery, Chris Stratton went the other way. Things worked out well for the Rangers. They go on to win a World Series. They traded Tommy Edman last year. They go on to win the World Series. Just think, if you get a Cardinals player, you're at least a good one, you're probably going to go to the World Series and win. At least that's how the thinking appears to work. But the Cardinals, meanwhile, they're still waiting on what they're going to get from Roby and Sajacey. Sajacey has been solid in the minors, but when he has been brought up, hasn't done all that much. He's just kind of stuck in that logjam of infielders that the Cardinals still have. So much that maybe they're talking about moving him to the outfield, taking some reps out there just so he can play more. But Roby seemed to be on the hot track to St. Louis. You know, injuries have been a thing that's held him back his entire professional career. But this year, when he was on the mound, he was really, really good. As Katie points out in her article, he was in the midst of his best season. Roby was promoted to AAA Memphis back in June after posting a 2.49 ERA and 10 starts in AA. He had 87 strikeouts over 78 and a third innings overall and was building a strong case for consideration in next year's Major League rotation, in large part due to a retooled pitch mix, which she goes in great detail about some of the changes and alterations that they made to what he was doing, talking about his slider, the two-seam fastball, which became a big deal for him. His slider became a real weapon. And you got a chance to see him in the spring. And, you know, the first thing you see when you watch Tekoah Roby pitch was you were like, whoa, dude's throwing 99? I did not know he had 99 in his bag, but that velo was really fun to watch. The guy was showing some real swing and miss potential, which we know the Cardinals are sorely in need of. And then after Quinn Matthews went down this year with his shoulder issues early on, it was Roby kind of like just blew past him as the next pitching prospect that looked like they were on the cusp of going to the major leagues. The Cardinals would be able to showcase this year. And now you get this news, and it's just awful. Like, it's just awful. And you feel bad for him, obviously. But as the organization, like, you're like, this is what is happening? this year. It's been a really bad trend for the organization because this is now the third pitching prospect, one of their top guys, that has gone down with Tommy John surgery. Cooper Jerpy, gone. Sim Robertson, gone. And when you have an organization like the Cardinals right now, which is starving for impact pitching, and all three of those guys, maybe not so much Robertson. Robertson there wasn't a lot going on there that seemed like, oh, wow, he's just incredible. He seemed like he was kind of in the mold of being, the pitch to contact type of stuff. So it wasn't like his strikeout numbers were that great. But you see the unique delivery of a Cooper Jerpy from the left-hand side, and you see his ability to get swing and miss, and then you saw what Tekoah Roby was doing. And for this to happen, like now, it's just like, because I mean, we've got the month of August, and then it was like, maybe we'll, Roby stays healthy, and boom, it's over. So there you go. That is the awful news that we start things off with. I should have gave you a choice. You want the good news or the bad news first? The good news is the Cardinals were able to trade Erick Fedde. The bad news is Tekoah Roby's gone now. Now who steps up to possibly be a part of this rotation next year if he's gone? You still have Quinn Matthews. It's tough. It's very bleak right now. Let's put it that way. There's just not a lot of starting rotation depth in this organization. So maybe trading for one, maybe they can get somebody at this trade deadline. We are going to talk more about the trade deadline here in a little bit, but the team did finally trade away Erick Fedde, so we should discuss that. We'll discuss that deal and why I'm hoping it is the end of a terrible pattern by this organization. That's coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or you're planning a big purchase, cars, houses, boats, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's basically like having your own personal CFO. It's going to give you full visibility and control over your finances because it's more than just a budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, which is great, you're also building wealth. Buying things online, that adds up quickly. I am very much familiar with this, whether it's groceries, toiletries, pet supply. The other day, I'm leaving the house. There's like 3 bags of stuff on the porch, and my wife had ordered food delivery, all this stuff. It's easy to just hit checkout, move on, and then you may not realize how much money is actually going out of the account, and that can be dangerous. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Erick Fedde is now a member of the Atlanta Braves. The trade deadline coming up on Thursday, and many people believe the Cardinals are going to be very busy at this time, which I hope they are, selling off pieces to other teams. And one of those names that was always set to be moved at some point was going to be Erick Fedde. And it just did not go down the way that we all imagined it would. In the perfect happy place scenario. Everybody's talking about Happy Gilmore too. In our happy place scenario with Erick Fedde, the thought was that not only could he help you last year in 2024, but also give you a solid option for this year in your rotation. And if he pitches well, it gives you another trade chip at the deadline if you aren't in playoff contention. Problem was he wasn't very good as a St. Louis Cardinal, and his trade value plummeted from what the Cardinals paid for him, which ended up being Tommy Edman, to what he is now, which was just kind of like, somebody take this dude. So the trade in its finality here, Fedde goes to the Braves, who aren't wasting any time. They're pitching him on Tuesday against Kansas City. They're already throwing him in. But also money. ESPN's Alden Gonzalez reported that the Cardinals will be covering the $2.7 million remaining on his $7.5 million salary for 2025, which means the Cardinals are basically paying him this year to pitch for the Braves. Awesome. Awesome. The Cardinals will receive cash considerations or a player to be named later in return. Just a bomb of a trade. None of it worked. Terrible trade that cost the Cardinals a fan favorite in Tommy Edman, who went on to win the NLCS MVP and help the Dodgers win a championship, while the Cardinals get a guy who ended up going 3-10 with a 5.22 ERA over 20 starts this season. And overall, in a Cardinal uniform, he went 5-15 with a 4.69 ERA in 30 starts with the Cardinals. In other words, it went bad, and then it went really bad. And it was another example of the Cardinals doing their shopping in the bargain bin section. You know what it's like when you go to these stores and they're like, "Ooh, look at all these, Blu-rays and DVDs still available, and people still buy those. Look at, they're only $1. Let's go get them." That's where the Cardinals keep doing their shopping, and you get what you pay for. And I had said it last week in that episode when it was going on that I was like, the idea of the trade made sense. I wanted better than Erick Fedde last year. And they went Erick Fedde because that's what the Cardinals do. And that's what John Mozeliak does. And you can file this trade away with a bunch of the other ones that haven't panned out in recent years under Mo. Who, again, he is under orders to keep the payroll at a certain spot. He's got to navigate in that area. He's got those restrictions, but at the same time, the guys he's picking suck. They've been so bad that it has tarnished what was a really good run as a GM for John Mozeliak. And now, because it's always like, "What have you done for me lately?" Everybody's like, "This guy's terrible. Get him out of here." And he is leaving. Like, I still get when are they going to get rid of this guy? When are they going to fire this guy? He is leaving at the end of this year. Like, it's over. Chaim Bloom's taking over. But the Cardinal way of plucking the low-hanging fruit and hoping they turn into something more has worn extremely thin on myself and on this fan base. We've been sick of it for a while now. And they just keep doing it, or they kept doing it. They're not even doing it now. Now they're just not spending any money. But it's why I'm eager to see them trade away these pieces that they can trade away this year and start rebuilding things for 2026. There's a core of guys here that I'm excited for their future. But they wanted to jumpstart this thing at this going into this season. And, it's one of the I got excited this offseason. I'm like, oh, my God, finally. They've picked a lane. They're going to trade away this high-priced veteran stuff that didn't win them jack. And even though it bummed me out to think that the Cardinals were going to struggle this year, it at least felt like they decided on a direction and they were going to it. And then Sonny and Wilson said, "Nope, we don't want to be traded." Arenado vetoed the trade to Houston, which essentially put us right back in the same freaking spot they were last year. And that's a meddling 500 team with a hope that the younger players would progress and make them better. It didn't work last year. It didn't work this year. Some of these guys I feel like have gone in a positive direction. Like, I think, Matthew Liberatore is a success story this year. Ivan Herrera, when healthy, has shown a lot of promise. I'm excited for his future. Alec Burleson did very similar to what he did last year when they decided to finally give him a normal spot and let him just play. Didn't matter where he was DHing or he was playing first or in the outfield. They're like, "We need your bat in the lineup, dude. You can stick." So he's been good, but you haven't seen the big jump that you were hoping from guys that you thought were going to be stars. Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, even Mason Wynn. We don't talk badly about Mason Wynn very often because he doesn't do a whole lot of things bad. Been amazing defensively. There's really nothing to knock there. But hitting-wise, he's essentially the same dude he was last year. There's no progress, and that's a problem. He didn't get any better. He's just doing the same things. No, he's been dealing with that knee thing, but at the same time, like, it's this. Go look at his numbers; they're very identical. So he didn't go anywhere. He didn't go up. He didn't get worse. He's just there. Victor Scott has not come around offensively like you'd hoped. You had that hot start, and then everybody started to figure out to throw breaking balls at him, and he fizzled out. Is a weapon when he gets on the base pass, obviously. Stolen bases. He's one of the best in the league. Great defensively, but the offense hasn't come around. But because this organization, it fell behind in developing their prospects under Mo's watch, he had to go out and buy back of the rotation guys and hope that they would outperform whatever they did previously. And it doesn't work. They're back of the rotation guys for a reason. They're not supposed to be dudes you build a rotation around. And personally, I'm tired of the Erick Feddes and the Miles Michalases and the Kyle Gibsons and the Lance Lenz. Like, all four of those guys may not be in baseball last year. Two of them are already out. Gibson and Lynn have retired. I don't know who's picking up Michaelis. Somebody probably will. But, like, the Cardinals used to be able to do more with less. Guys like Kyle Loesch, Jeff Suppan, Jeff Weaver, guys like that. They found success with those guys back in the day, but they don't do that anymore. That was a long time ago. They don't have guys that can turn those people around. You don't have someone who is the caliber of Dave Duncan as your pitching coach anymore to help fix these veteran guys, to teach them new things. You don't have Yadier Molina or Mike Matheny behind the plate to take care of these guys and make them better pitchers and better game managers. Those days are gone. So the thinking has to change around the St. Louis Cardinals. And there's hope that it finally will when this season ends and Chaim Bloom, his era officially begins. The Cardinals need to develop their own stud pitchers. That's just the way it is. Every organization wants to develop their own stud. They don't want to go out and overpay for people. But some teams have the means and have decided that they can do that. But you go look at, like, say, the Dodgers. They go out and they just buy a whole rotation. But at the same time, they had all these young guys they were developing. And they're able to trade them away and use them as pieces. Maybe they'll be interested in getting in Ryan Helsley or Nolan Arenado. Maybe that's something that's still – I don't think the Arenado thing's going to happen now. But the Ryan Helsley – did you guys see Emmanuel Clase? This one just broke a little bit ago. Hold on, let me get to the story. But that Emmanuel Clase has been – here we go. Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase placed on paid leave as part of league sports betting investigation. He was one of the big names that were being mentioned as relievers getting traded away at the deadline. Guys that I think teams thought more highly of Emmanuel Clase than they do of Ryan Helsley, but now he might be out of the picture. So that opens it up for Ryan Helsley getting moved. And you're hoping that they can acquire some of the pitching that they've been lacking in their organization. There's my hope, again, Quinn Matthews, Tekoah Roby, Tink Hintz, new first-round pick Liam Doyle. The hope is that these guys are going to be the beginning of the new regime of good starting pitchers that will come up. But Roby's out now. Hintz and Matthews have dealt with injuries. Liam Doyle's just getting started. So they're not like just knocking on the door waiting. So now we're still stuck with the same crap we've had the last few years. And that's these pitch to contact dudes. And it has not been a great recipe for success. Even as good as this defense has been this year, the ball finds holes. If you can't get these guys to swing and miss, eventually they're gonna burn you. And it just happened to Michael McGreevy. Padres got him it was like, ugh, that's depressing. They just need more pitching that misses bats. They need more swing and miss. It's just that simple. Hopefully they can acquire some guys like that at this trade deadline with some of the pieces they have that could be moved. They've got a nice stable of bullpen pieces. The other teams that I think should find attractive, Helsley, Maton, Steven Matz, obviously are big names. I don't want to trade Jojo Romero. He's been awesome, but if somebody wants to overpay for it, again, everything is on sale right now. So come and get them. We're going to check in on the rumor mill. next. Mostly I want to talk about this one Cardinal whose name continues to pop up more frequently. If the Cardinals could move him, I think it would be wise. We'll talk about him next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Today's episode brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is this beautiful red, Cardinal red and white hat that I have with me today. For Cardinals fans like me, this one, it's going to hit the mark. You guys are going to like these. They come in different styles, too. You can get the blue, you get the white with the red. It's not like you can switch it around and stuff. I got the red and white ones. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear, which has team-inspired colorways for not only professional teams, but also your college fan bases, which is great. And it's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day. Obviously, on the golf course, they're great, or anywhere in between. The golf course, my favorite place to wear this particular hat because, these are the kind of golf hats I like. They got the holes in them. They're light, they're comfortable, keep you cool during these hot St. Louis summers on the course, and it just pops. I like that the color, it's not dim. I dig them. I think they're great, and I love that there's a variety of different colors you can roll with. For somebody who's very metro, where I like to match everything that I have. I mean, you see me on this podcast, like you know what I wear, and it's not just hats. You got their split shade gloves as well, which goes perfectly with the hats that I chose. But like I said, you can go the blue, you can go with the whites as well. So that's entirely up to you. But they're great for the golf course. They're perfect gifts for birthdays, Father's Day, even the winter holidays. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now's the time to start loading up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, I want you to check out the Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long, get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I got to get a drink. Hold on. I've been very hoarse since my trip to Busch Stadium with the family and stuff. So voice is recovering from it. So bear with me. But we've discussed the idea of, let's talk some deadline. Trading Brennan Donovan. A lot of discussion about that, right? People are up in arms. People can't seem to choose what side of the fence they're on. Again, my thing is, if Brennan Donovan is getting interest, which I'm sure he is because he's a very good player and can do a lot of different things for a club, is that if somebody is willing to overpay and give you anything you want for him, then you got to listen. But you don't have to get rid of him. This is not something where it's got to be done. I would love to keep Donnie around. He's kind of this captain of the team. And when other guys are gone, whether that's Willie or Sonny or Arenado, he's going to be the veteran go-to guy to look at. So I'm not actively trying to get rid of him, but I will listen. Nolan Arenado is a different thing. Nolan, the situation with him, we've talked a lot about, obviously, since last offseason. And he's got a no-trade clause. All right? This is the problem. As much as you want to get rid of his contract, he's got a no-trade clause. So he holds all the power. But it doesn't mean teams won't be tempted to come talk to the Cardinals about him, specifically if they don't end up getting Eugenio Suarez, which is the guy most of these teams are chasing. It's been a hot topic. As soon as they dealt Josh Naylor, as soon as Arizona traded him, that meant Eugenio Suarez is not going to be a Diamondback any longer. Unless he signs an extension, which I don't see that happening. They're going to try to trade him because all these teams are after him because he offers that elite pop from the hot corner. But Nato's name is being brought up more and more because of the third base trade market being something that a lot of teams want. Mark Feinsand over at MLB.com talked about it. The Yankees jumping on the Ryan McMahon trade early, getting it over with. That's their guy. But he points out that Suarez is the crown jewel of this deadline, and he lists the Cubs, the Mariners, the Tigers, the Brewers, the Reds, the Astros, and the Phillies, all having interest in him, which means one of those teams can get him. What are those other teams going to do? That's where Nolan Arenado comes into play here. It's kind of funny that Eugenio Suarez, he used to play for the Mariners, the Tigers, and the Reds, and they've all gotten rid of him, and now they all want to get him back. So it's kind of funny to me. But this is where Nato could become important. Obviously, the trade deadline, Nato's got to approve it. Didn't want to do the trade to Houston in the offseason. But Feinsand points out that even though Houston is in a need for a third baseman following Isaac Paredes' recent injury, he says that the Astros don't appear inclined to make another bid for Arenado. And I'm sure it wouldn't be as good as the offer that the Cardinals had this offseason, which Nato vetoed. And that's why he's still in a Cardinal uniform. He points out the Yankees already got their guy. But a source said some of the other clubs pursuing Suarez could pivot to Arenado if they miss out on the Arizona Slugger. He points out that Arenado's got 2 years, $42 million remaining on his contract beyond the season, 27 and 26, and $15 million in 27. Next season's salary includes $6 million in deferred money plus $5 million that will be paid by the Rockies as part of that trade. The Cardinals would likely have to pay down part of Arenado's contract in order to move him, which is what they were going to do with the deal to Houston. But St. Louis's desire to open a spot for some of its young infielders might prompt them to do that. After starting the season in strong fashion, Arenado's year has been a bit of a roller coaster. Looked to have turned things around in June, posting an 801 OPS in the first 20 games. Since then, he's got a 476 OPS over his past 20 contests before Sunday. Overall, 10 home runs, 43 ribbies, 669 OPS in 93 games this season. 34-year-old remains an elite defender at third base, which we know. We know he's been awesome. 4 outs above average, ranking in the 89th percentile. Whether stellar defense and slightly below average offense are enough for a club to commit to 2+ years of Arenado remains to be seen, but it's certainly in play. I think it's really going to come down to how much money the Cardinals are willing to eat. They just ate the Fedde salary. He's pitching for the Braves, but the Cardinals are paying for that. Cardinals are going to have to pay for him to play for somebody else too. And he's got to want to go there. And again, I don't know if he wants to leave during the season. Again, I'll keep saying it until I'm proven wrong, but it feels like Arenado would be more comfortable doing something like this in the offseason where he's got more time to plan for it instead of just like a boom, gone. Like it just doesn't feel like a Nato thing to do. But the way the season's going for the Cardinals and how bad it's been since the second half started, and a lot of teams are still in contention, and maybe he would like to play for some of those teams. I don't know if he does or not. But we'll see. We'll see if he's interested or whether or not he'd rather revisit this in the offseason once again. Well, on the field-wise, losing the final two against the Padres ruined the momentum they had built after winning those first two. 1-5 road trip sucked. Then you win 2 against the Padres. Oh, we're not that bad. Nope, we suck again. Michael McGreevy getting pummeled in his first start as a member of the rotation didn't help anything either, too, because that was one of the things that the fan base was excited to see. Fedde's gone. Yay! The Wicked Witch is gone. McGreevy, he's our shiny new toy. We'll put him. Oh, he just got killed too. Okay. But we'll see how he responds to adversity. This is his first time really getting hit hard by a team in the major league. So seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, very mature for his age. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But the question is he good enough as a pitcher? Again, he's another pitch to contact guy. You got the Marlins in town, losing record overall. I think they still have a losing record, don't they? Because they were way down there for a little bit. 50 and 54. But they played so much better, like in the last month or so. Like they've been a really good team. So no pushovers here. Tonight, it's Edward Cabrera, really good right-hander against Andre Palante, whose ERA continues to creep closer to 5. Which is bad. He's going in the wrong direction, as most of this team has. Things are very ugly right now, and this Tekoah Roby news just puts another shadow over this dark time for this franchise. I know it's rough, but maybe we'll see something exciting happen at this trade deadline. But obviously, we'll keep you posted if anything drops. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, again, MLB Game Night, go check that out. If you haven't given us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals at JD Sports Radio, please do that. TikTok, Instagram, obviously YouTube, got the channel. It's a good time. So come by and see us if you're listening to this on just the audio. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I know it's tough right now, guys. I know. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.